They called him reckless, arrogant, a rich kid playing with rockets. NASA laughed. The government scoffed. But what Elon Musk did next changed spaceflight forever. This isn't a story about rockets. It's a story about being doubted, publicly, loudly, and repeatedly. It's about the smirks behind closed doors, the headlines written in sarcasm, the experts who swore it would never work. And it's about what happens when you don't listen to any of them, when you choose to bet everything on yourself. This is the story of how Elon Musk took on NASA and made history. Before the world saw SpaceX as revolutionary, NASA saw it as a joke. In 2002, Elon Musk stepped onto the aerospace stage with a declaration that was equal parts bold and unbelievable. He said he was going to Mars, not eventually, not someday, soon. He said he was going to start a private space company, build his own rockets, revolutionize how we explore the stars. To the press, it was entertaining. To NASA, it was amusing. To industry veterans, it was laughable. Because Musk wasn't an aerospace engineer. He didn't come from Boeing. He didn't have a history with Lockheed Martin. He was the PayPal guy, the internet guy, the billionaire tech bro who'd sold a startup and now wanted to play astronaut. Behind closed doors, the whispers weren't subtle. He has no idea what he's doing. This isn't Silicon Valley, it's rocket science. It'll be fun to watch him fail. Even NASA engineers, the most brilliant minds in aerospace, dismissed it as vanity. Some even joked it would be the most expensive fireworks show ever launched. But what no one knew then was that Musk wasn't here to play. He was here to disrupt, and he was just getting started. They weren't just failures, they were explosions. Watched around the world, SpaceX's first real test came in the form of the Falcon 1, a small, single-engine rocket that Musk and his tiny team poured their hearts and bank accounts into. The goal was modest. Just get it off the ground. Prove it could work. Flight 1, March 24, 2006. Within seconds of liftoff, the engine caught fire. The rocket spiraled out of control and crashed into the ocean. A total loss. The critics sharpened their knives. See? Told you. This is what happens when billionaires think they're engineers. But Elon, he didn't flinch. He said, "We learned. We'll try again." Flight 2, March 2007. The rocket climbed higher this time, but failed to reach orbit. The second stage shut down too early. Another failure. But SpaceX kept going. No big government contracts, no legacy partners, just Musk funding the dream out of pocket. Flight 3, August 2008. This one hurt. It almost made it. Almost. The first stage separated, but collided with the second. The rocket tumbled and fell back to Earth. 3 launches, 3 failures, and now Elon was out of money. Almost completely. SpaceX had just one rocket left, one more chance, and if it failed, it was over. 3 rockets failed. The fourth, it was all or nothing. September 28th, 2008. The SpaceX team stood on a tiny island in the Pacific Ocean. Omelek Island, barely a strip of land. No luxury, no crowd, no second chances. They had one rocket left, Falcon 1 Flight 4. Everything Elon had, financially, emotionally, personally, was riding on this launch. Employees hadn't been paid in weeks. Vendors were threatening to cut ties. His other company, Tesla, was also spiraling. People told him to quit, to walk away, to accept defeat, but he didn't. He doubled down. At T-0, the Falcon 1 ignited. It lifted off the pad, rose smoothly into the air. Stage separation, no explosion. Second stage ignition. And then, for the first time ever, orbit. SpaceX had done what only a handful of nations had done before. launched a liquid-fueled rocket into space. Successfully, the team erupted in cheers, tears, hugs, relief. Elon didn't celebrate, not yet, because the phone was already ringing, and on the other end, NASA, the agency that mocked him, just offered him billions. Only a few months after Flight 4's success, NASA made a stunning announcement. They were awarding SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract under the Commercial Resupply Services (CRS) program. The goal? To transport cargo to the International Space Station. It was unheard of. The same agency that had once treated Musk like an amusing footnote had just made him a key partner. But behind the scenes, not everyone was celebrating. At NASA headquarters, there were rumblings of dissent. Veteran engineers raised eyebrows. We're trusting ISS supply runs. To a startup? To a guy who blew up 3 rockets? But Musk wasn't interested in proving them wrong with words. He let the contract speak for itself. When asked about the backlash, he said simply, "It's not about who you are. It's about what you deliver." He knew the real test hadn't started yet. The eyes of the government, the media, and the world were about to fixate on his next move. And this time, he wasn't sending up an empty rocket. He was going to send up a spacecraft. If the Dragon capsule fails, it's not just a loss, it's humiliation. 2010 SpaceX unveils something the world had never seen from a private company. A spacecraft. Its name, Dragon. While Falcon 1 had been a proof of concept, Dragon was something else entirely. It was designed to carry cargo now, but eventually people. NASA was watching closely. The critics were louder than ever. Cargo to the ISS from a startup? This is going to end in disaster. Launch day arrived. Falcon 9 stood on the pad, Dragon perched on top like a dare. T-10, T-5, ignition, and then liftoff. The world watched, breathless. Dragon soared, entered orbit, and then re-entered, safely, landed in the Pacific Ocean. History was made. For the first time ever, a private company had launched a spacecraft into orbit and returned it safely. NASA couldn't ignore it. And suddenly, the press that once laughed was listening. NASA didn't just take notice, they took offense. Dragon's success wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a warning shot. To the old aerospace titans, it said, "You're not untouchable anymore." Inside NASA, a quiet civil war began. Veteran engineers who'd spent decades on the shuttle program felt the walls closing in. They didn't trust Musk. They didn't trust his timelines. They didn't trust his attitude. But most of all, they didn't trust his speed. Musk moved fast. Too fast. Where NASA had protocols and layers of review, SpaceX had whiteboards and Slack messages. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was threatening. In 2011, NASA retired the space shuttle, and with it, America lost its ability to send astronauts into space. Suddenly, the guy they mocked was the only hope they had. The moment NASA admitted it, SpaceX was the future. By 2012, Falcon 9 wasn't just working, it was reliable. And Musk, he made a promise that shocked the world. "We're going to land rockets." People laughed. Again. Rockets were supposed to be disposable. That was the rule. But Elon Musk wasn't interested in rules. In 2015, SpaceX landed its first booster, then another, and another. By 2016, rockets were landing routinely. NASA took notice, again. The agency awarded SpaceX the Commercial Crew Program contract, this time not for cargo, but for humans. SpaceX was now responsible for transporting astronauts to the ISS. The same astronauts who had once flown aboard government-funded shuttles were now flying aboard a rocket built by the guy they said would never make it. Millions watched. NASA prayed. Musk just waited. May 30th, 2020. The air felt different. Falcon 9 stood tall at Kennedy Space Center. Inside the Crew Dragon capsule, 2 NASA astronauts. The first launch of humans from American soil in 9 years. But this wasn't a NASA rocket. This was SpaceX. And the world was watching. Countdown, ignition, launch. The rocket soared into the sky. Smooth, controlled, stage separation, booster landing. Orbit achieved. Crew Dragon docked with the ISS flawlessly. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine said it best, "This is a new era of spaceflight." And everyone knew the joke had become the juggernaut. Elon Musk hadn't just joined the space race, he was winning it. It wasn't just a rocket launch. It was a turning point for humanity. SpaceX wasn't just succeeding, it was reshaping the entire aerospace industry. The days of bloated billion-dollar government contracts and 5-year timelines numbered. Now every agency, every company, every nation was watching Elon Musk. By 2021, SpaceX's valuation soared. It eclipsed Boeing, the company that once dominated the skies, now trailed behind the startup they once ignored. Other countries took notice. Europe, China, India. They began developing their own public-private partnerships. Universities changed their programs. Applications for aerospace engineering doubled. In schools across the US, students began writing essays titled, "How Elon Musk Changed Space." But the ripple wasn't just felt in labs and lecture halls. It was in the living rooms of everyday people. People who saw a man stand up against doubt, ridicule, and failure and come out ahead. It was hope disguised as a rocket. He didn't throw a party, he didn't give a speech, he just kept building. After the Crew Dragon launch, the media begged for interviews. Musk declined most of them. There was no champagne, no red carpet, just a quiet moment in a control room. He thanked his team. He shook a few hands. Then he walked out. And that night, he went back to work, back to Starbase, back to building the next rocket, back to chasing the impossible. A young engineer caught him in the hallway, nervous, shy. He said, "You proved them wrong." Musk paused, smiled. "No," he said, "we proved it was possible." And with that, he disappeared into the night. No applause, just forward motion. Because for Elon Musk, the win wasn't in the headlines. It was in the silence that follows success, when no one is watching, and the work still continues. He didn't just build rockets, he built a path for engineers, dreamers, builders, and believers. He showed that doubt doesn't define you, persistence does. He didn't fight the system with rage. He didn't beat it with money. He outlasted it, outworked it, and made it better. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that the world still rewards courage, vision, and relentless effort, consider subscribing. Because we have more stories coming. Stories that challenge, that inspire, that remind us that sometimes the people who change everything are the ones who never stop trying.